Smart Driver, talking to you about winter driving, defensive driving skills that will allow you to drive on snow and ice safely and stay out of the ditch. Hi there, Smart Driver. Welcome to 2026. All the very best for the coming year for you and your family. It's turning out to be an awesome new year. And we don't have any winter here, but in every other part of North America, they have winter and snow and ice and are dealing with that. And we're going to give you some tips and strategies on how to locate and identify black ice, the proverbial black ice, how to drive on it safely, how to keep yourself out of the ditch, and to understand what are the conditions that potentially could cause you to end up in the ditch on snow and ice. We had some ice here the other morning, and it was a bit challenging to drive on some of the back roads where there isn't any traffic. So if you get away from the main roads in the wintertime, know that there is a higher probability that you're going to encounter ice and snow on those back roads because they clear and salt and sand and maintain the main roads first. And sometimes it's going to take a while for them, the maintenance crews rather, to get to the back roads. So know that when you're driving, and especially if you're driving early in the morning and those types of things, that roads with less traffic are going to be cleared and maintained last, and you're going to have to take note of that and adjust your driving accordingly. Corey's here, Bricks for Wheels. He is the moderator, does an excellent job of getting up the videos I suggest you have a look at. Marion here, winter holiday in Quebec. Let's just say, Marion, that it went very differently in my head, because I got sick while I was there, and it was the 27th I got sick, and we came home on the 28th. I remember coming home and riding in the plane, and you know what it's like. There's absolutely no room on the plane. You're squished into this little space in this seat, and all I could think of was, I just want to get off this plane. And we were going to drive home the same day. We got into Calgary at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We was going to drive home, which is about a 6-7 hour drive from Calgary back to our place. And even before we landed, we were like an hour late coming into Calgary from Montreal. And even before we landed, I just booked a hotel and stayed overnight. And, we went to the hotel and I just went to bed. And I have spent the last week or so recuperating from that. So it was not the greatest of holidays in terms of getting sick. But it happens, and I'm feeling much better. So blessed, my friend. Happy New Year to you, and excellent. The year is going well for you as well there in Hawaii. I saw something on social media today that Hawaii got snow in some of the higher mountain elevations. Is that true? That's just crazy. Marion, oh no, that is awful. I hope you're feeling better now. Yeah, much better now than I was, because let me tell you, it really just laid me out in terms of getting sick. And it is the flu season, and people are getting sick, and but there's still COVID shots available. There's still flu shots available. So it's up to your personal decisions about whether you want to take those precautions so that you don't get sick over the wintertime. But it's been a long time since I've been sick. I can't really remember the last time I got sick, so probably about a year ago now. But, once a year we get sick. So talking about winter driving, 3297, Happy New Year to you from Chilliwack. Hello, my friend. Hello. So yes, we're talking about winter driving, defensive driving skills. Slow down, increase your following distance. More so increasing your following distance. Know that in the wintertime on compromised traction, when there is slippery conditions, it is going to be curves, corners, and turns. That is when you are going to get into trouble. And I was talking about the other morning, I was going to the dog park, and, there's sharp curves up what's called South BX here in Vernon, where I live, and remote roads, not a lot of traffic on these roads, and they were icy. And coming around the corners in the front is beginning to what's called understeer, where you turn the steering wheel and the front of the vehicle starts to go straight. You have to slow down. You have to adjust your driving accordingly in the wintertime on compromised snow and ice. Now, the other piece is that everybody else, if roads are bad in the wintertime, everybody else is going to be going slow and increasing their following distance, and you should do so as well. Now, keep in mind that in the wintertime, the chances of you encountering poor weather, bad visibility, lots of snow and ice, those types of conditions are rare. It only happens once, twice, 3 times in a winter time. I've driven to Calgary 6-7 hours east of here through the mountains in the winter time, and both times the weather has been good. Now, the last time that I did it was November. In November, heavy pouring rain. So had to deal with the heavy winter, heavy rain between Golden and Revelstoke, which is about a 2.5 hour drive, and it rained the whole time. This time, hard pack, which is basically snow and ice on the roadway that they can't clear because it's too cold, and the snow builds up, and it's called hard pack. Had to deal with that, but for the most part, the roads were good. There wasn't a great deal of snow, and we weren't dealing with winter conditions. We got to Lake Louise coming back from Calgary on the last trip, and of course it's the holidays, it's Christmas, and people are in there skiing and doing all the winter activities and whatnot, and the traffic was backed up out on the highway for about 3 miles, which I found unusual, but I haven't been through there on the holidays in the wintertime, so having snow backed up was kind of crazy. Been raining a lot in Hawaii. That's good that you're okay. I have the flu too. Mostly the Big Island has snow all the way up the mountains, those higher level areas. Okay, so they do get snow in Hawaii. I did not know that. See, I learned something today. I've learned lots of things every day. Paul, my friend, how was your trip across Canada on the train? Do you have, for my niece's friend that had his driver's license canceled, he said he couldn't complete his program. Paul, is he in Ontario that he had his driver's license canceled? That seems kind of weird that, probably it doesn't sound like it canceled. Usually what happens is the time expires for the driver's license. So did his license canceled, or was it simply suspended because he didn't complete the requirement of doing the G1 test by the time that the year expired that you were on your learner's license? On Oahu, it's been raining a lot, blessed. Yes, so there it's been raining as well. So we have, and as I said, other parts of North America, the states here in Canada have all had snow. We have not had any snow here in the interior British Columbia. It's just the dreary, overcast, typical winter, and it's around freezing. It's 32 degrees Fahrenheit, 0 degrees Celsius almost every day here. And that can kind of catch you out as well. You need to pay attention to the precipitation in the air. If there's fog in the air, if there's fog on the roadways, melting snow and ice the day before, and then it freezes overnight, you need to pay attention to that, because those are the signposts that you potentially could have black ice and snow on the roadways. And as I've said, and for those of the smart drivers that are here now, most of you have been listening to me talk about winter weather. It is more slippery when the temperature is around freezing, 0 degrees Celsius, 32 degrees Fahrenheit, than it is in sub-zero temperatures. When the temperature is minus 20 degrees Celsius, minus 10 degrees Fahrenheit, you have much more traction, especially if you have good quality tires on your vehicle. So know that when the temperature is around freezing, it is more slippery than when the temperature is colder than that. Paul, it was nice. I just got back. He was in Nanaimo and was pulled over by a Mountie. Oh, okay. So he got caught in Okay, so what was the charge, Paul, that he got pulled over in Nanaimo? Because here in British Columbia, you're allowed less points. So most driver's license here in Canada on the GLP programs, the graduated licensing programs, you're not allowed as many points. So depending on what the charge is and what the conviction was, depending on how many points he got, his license would have been canceled, and he would have to start over in the GLP program here in British Columbia. Marion, no, you're very observant that I'm not using the Spider-Man cup, because my daughter got a hold of it and it is MIA. I cannot find it. It's probably I know it's in her room and she's in there. She's not feeling well, so she's having a nap. So yeah, Spider-Man will be back. I just grabbed one of the other cups out of the thing and it turned out to be Elsa. All right. He was visiting Salt Spring. Yeah, so he's in British Columbia. There is reduced number of points for GLP here in British Columbia and in the rest of Canada. If you're on the probationary stage of your license and you get pulled over by police and you get convicted of a charge, you're going to probably lose your license and have to start all over in that probationary stage of your license. Yes, excellent. So winter driving, we're talking about winter driving, talking about the conditions that cause roadways to be slippery, things that you need to be looking out for. Most newer cars, anything after 2015, is going to have a temperature gauge inside the vehicle, and if the temperature is around freezing, it's going to warn you of snow and ice on the roadways. As I said, you're more at risk of sliding and slipping on roadways in the wintertime when the temperature is around freezing. Now, I know that most people are absolutely terrified of driving in the wintertime on snow and ice because I've run polls here on the YouTube channel. I get the sentiments from people. I know that the video driving on black ice, how to identify black ice and how to drive on black ice video, which I put up 4 years ago, finally got traction. Pardon the pun. Finally got traction and is getting incredible numbers of views right now. I think it's got like 80,000 views in the last couple of months. So everybody is watching that video on how to identify and locate black ice. And of course, some people have opinions about driving on ice in the wintertime. And this is one thing I will say to them. If it happens to you and it catches you out, as sometimes it will, as it has happened to me, and as I said in that video, I got caught out on the roadway at night, very little traffic on the roadway, and there was ice, went around the corner too fast and lost control of the buggy. It happens. There isn't anything you're going to know about it. And, you know, all these people who are saying to me and coming back and telling me how to identify ice on the roadways, it's not going to happen. You are not going to be able to identify the conditions that lead to ice on the roadway. It's going to be one moment of inattention, and the next thing you know, you're losing control of your vehicle. So what do you do if you do lose control of your vehicle? Get your foot off the throttle, get your foot off the brake. And I know that there are smart drivers who come back and say to me, just ease off the throttle, just ease off the accelerator. You're not going to have time for any of that. By the time that you're thinking about easing off the throttle, it's too late. Just get your foot off the throttle, get your foot off the brake. Do not get your foot on the brake, because that will make the situation worse. Steer the vehicle in the direction that you want it to go, okay? And you're going to have to work like a crazy person. And for the odd few people in the world who refuse to wear their seatbelts, make sure that you're wearing your seatbelt in the wintertime, because your seatbelt not only protects you in the event of a crash, it also keeps you in the driver's seat in the event of an emergency. Because if something happens and you're trying to control the vehicle, it's really tough if you get thrown into the footwell on the passenger side of the vehicle to drive that vehicle. You have to be in the driver's seat. And this is what the other purpose of wearing your seatbelt is to keep you in the driver's seat so that you can work the controls of the vehicle in an emergency situation. So make sure that you're wearing your seatbelt. Corey will put that link up for you, 97 on driving on black ice and identifying black ice for us. So thank you for that. Paul, you're probably right, by the way. When on a BC Transit bus, a runaway dog was chasing a bus I was on. Fortunate, never got hit in traffic in downtown Victoria. That is unusual for a dog to be chasing a bus in downtown Victoria. I'm sure that was a little bit like the time that the kangaroo was hopping, I guess, across the roadway when I was in Canberra. It was the only time that I saw Australians get excited about a kangaroo. Other than that, I never saw Australians get excited about kangaroos, because the saying in Australia is they're common as. It was like the first time I saw galahs. They're a bird, and they're this beautiful pink and blue color. And I'm like, oh my God, what kind of birds are those? And they're like, oh, they're galahs, they're common as. But I guess they're hard on agriculture and destroy grain crops. So Australians don't get too excited about galahs and other types of birds, especially cockatoos and whatnot. Whereas those of us who are visiting, it's just incredible. Thanks for the video, Rick. These videos helped me pass my driving test last week. That is awesome, my friend. Congratulations on passing your driver's test last week. That is awesome news. What did you do to celebrate? passing your driver's test. And of course, the night that I don't have my Spider-Man cup after almost 10 years of doing this is the night that I have a tickle in my throat and I need to drink water so that I don't cough incessantly while I'm trying to do the live stream. Passing snowplows in winter weather, if you get in behind a snowplow, just take a breath, be patient, be cautious, because know that if trying to pass a snowplow in conditions is going to be treacherous at best. And when you do get past the snowplow, when you get up in front of the snowplow, conditions are going to be bad. So oftentimes it's better to wait behind, the snowplow and then proceed after the snowplow pulls off the roadway and carry on with your journey to keep yourself safe. Stay away from sand trucks, especially here in the West. I don't know what it is. I think they put rocks in like this big behind the sand trucks and those types of things. And I will tell you from personal experience, when one of those rocks bounces off the windshield, it really wakes you up because it makes just a hideous cracking sound on the windshield. And on the note of windshields, if you do get into a situation where you have stone chips on your windshield, take it into a glass shop and get the stone chips fixed as quickly as possible. It's going to be $50 or $60. If you wait until the windshield cracks, it's going to cost you $400 to $2,000, depending on the windshield and what is in your windshield, because most newer vehicles all have GPS tracking antennas and wires and the radio and those types of things in it, so it could cost you a lot of money to fix the windshield. Now, if you have collision insurance on your vehicle, the windshield is covered under the collision insurance depending on what your deductible is on your vehicle. So if your deductible is $1,000, it's probably going to cost you $1,000 to replace the windshield on it. So my suggestion is, if you get stone chips on your windshield when you're driving in the wintertime from rocks being kicked up from the sand that they put on the roadways and whatnot, get it in and get the chips fixed as quickly as possible. I probably got 8 or 9 chips on the windshield on the buggy, but none of them are within the visibility, like within eyesight when I'm driving the vehicle. They're all down kind of at the bottom in the middle. So get your windshield and keep your vehicle good and those types of things. Of course, the temperature wasn't very cold when we were driving across the mountains here. The buggy was absolutely filthy from all the sand and salt and those types of things that they put on the roadways and kicks up all this water and mush and whatnot. So make sure that you have minus 40 degree windshield washer fluid in your washer reservoir tank. If you can plan for putting windshield washer fluid in your vehicle in the wintertime, it's going to save you a bit of money. I was in one of the convenience stores the other day. My mom always buys a lottery ticket and leaves it here, so I had to went and check the lottery ticket. And there was a gentleman in there buying 2 jugs of winter washer fluid, and I think he paid $5 or $6 a jug for it. So if you can buy it somewhere other than a gas station or a convenience store along your route, and you can wait and buy it at Canadian Tire or some automotive parts shop, it's going to save you a couple of bucks in terms of buying the windshield washer fluid for your vehicle in the wintertime. And make sure that you put in the minus 40 windshield washer fluid so that it doesn't freeze inside there. Don't put water in it, okay, because it'll freeze, and as we know, water, when it freezes, it expands. The jug is plastic, and it could potentially crack the reservoir inside your vehicle, and it could be expensive to replace that. So make sure you put in the correct windshield washer fluid. Love went out with friends to celebrate passing my driver's test. That is awesome, my friend. Congratulations. Congratulations on taking the time to celebrate, because you only pass your driver's test one time. I mean, unless you're crazy like me and take every class of license that you could possibly get, including instructor's license and whatnot. So know that when you're taking your driver's test and you're successful in passing your driver's test, go out and celebrate. We need to have those victories in our life, and we need to celebrate those victories so that we remain gracious about the things that happen to us and the great things that go on in our lives. Otherwise, we just become a crusty old, senior citizen in life, and we're walking around the neighborhood just dead-eyeing teenagers, right? So you don't want to be that person. So celebrate your victories in life, and that means celebrating passing your driver's test first time. Too many smart drivers over the years, I ask them, what did you celebrate? How did you celebrate? Excuse me. How did you celebrate passing your driver's test? And they're, oh, I went to work. Don't do that, okay? Be gracious. Have some fun. Celebrate stuff. You know, even if, you know, it's just going down to the coffee shop and getting your favorite drink. Do something to celebrate your victories over the course of your life, and there are going to be many of them. So celebrate, be happy, and celebrate with loved ones, okay? Share those victories in your life. 7X, Happy New Year to you, my friend. Love, yes sir, again, appreciate the videos and dedication to them. These really help me out. That is awesome, my friend. All right, let's get over to the presentation here. We'll get through that 10 or 12 minutes, and then we'll come back. We'll spend the remainder of the hour answering any questions you have about passing a driver's test, being a safer, smarter driver, especially driving in the winter time, or starting a career as a truck or bus driver. We can help you out with all of that as well. So, you know, you want to make a bit of extra money this year. You could get your bus license. You could drive the bus for the local church, you know, volunteer for a charity organization, or you could drive coaches for one of the regional bus lines, transit organizations, those types of things. So there's always lots of work as a driver and making a bit of money extra as well. Or you could completely switch careers and begin a career as a truck or bus driver. So we're talking about driving in the wintertime, driving in the south. I want to talk about driving in the south because it generally catches people out. There's kind of a snow line through the United States of America, and below that, if they get snow anytime during the wintertime, it catches them out. And oftentimes these people don't have quality tires on their vehicle, and they don't get the traction that they need. You need to have good quality tires on your vehicle in the wintertime. I'm not saying that you need winter tires specifically. However, if you are driving in a region that gets a lot of snow and ice, then yes, put winter tires on your vehicle. But if you have all-season tires that have either the mountain snowflake symbol, the three-peak mountain snowflake symbol on them, or M&S, mud and snow, smart drivers have come back over the last few weeks and said that M&S isn't as good as the three-peak mountain snowflake symbol. So this might be something for you to consider when you're purchasing tires for your vehicle and putting a new set of tires on your vehicle. But do have good quality tires on your vehicle. This is the first thing that's going to help you to get traction when it is snow and ice on the roadways. And again, I come back to this. It's going to be more slippery when the temperature is around freezing than it is when it's sub-zero temperatures, when it's minus 10 degrees Fahrenheit or it's minus 20 degrees Celsius. At freezing, it's more slippery, and I'll explain why it's more slippery here through the presentation. All right. As I just said, more treacherous when the temperature is at freezing than when it is minus 10 degrees Fahrenheit or minus 12 degrees Fahrenheit. And the reason for that is because there is a layer of water on top of the snow and ice, and it makes it treacherous. And I can attest to this right now because going to the dog park in the bush, it's all ice and it's around freezing, and there's a layer of water on top of the snow and ice, and it makes it treacherous to walk through the bush right now. It's the same thing as roadways. When the temperature is around freezing and there's a layer of water on top of the ice, it makes it even more slippery. And think of it like an ice hockey rink just after the Zamboni has gone out and flooded the ice. It is super slippery because of that layer of water on top of the ice. As well, think of ice cubes. When you first take them out of the freezer, they're super sticky. You leave them sit on the counter for a minute or two, and then they become super slick, and they go pa-choo, and they go skating across the countertop because of that layer of water that lubricates the snow and ice. It's and the other place on the roadway that is going to be slippery is going to be intersections, and I can attest to this. It happened to me when we were in Golden. We were going into McDonald's, and I was going just a little bit too fast and waited just a little bit too long to brake and come into the McDonald's, and I'm, hit the brakes, turned the steering wheel, and the buggy continued to go straight. Which is not what I wanted it to do at all. And I got it stopped before it went into the ditch, but I did have to back up a little bit in order to get into the parking lot. So I wasn't going very fast at the time that it happened, but it was super slippery because the temperature was right around freezing. And it was like, all of a sudden, it was like, woo, wait a minute, we're not going where we want to go here. And, you know, got on the brakes and got it stopped before I ended up into the ditch. Know that intersections are going to be slippery when the temperature is around freezing. And the reason that intersections are slippery, the cars come up and they're stopping and slowing down. As they're stopping and slowing down, you're hitting the brakes, you're locking up the wheels, you're creating friction. Friction, the byproduct of friction is heat, and the heat melts the ice and snow a little bit and creates that layer of water on top of the ice and snow and makes it slippery. Black ice. Where are you going to find black ice in the wintertime? Bridges and overpasses are going to freeze first. And if you watch any of these ice videos where they're losing control of their vehicles, oftentimes what happens is they come around a curve on a road or a highway, they hit a bridge or an overpass, and the bridge and overpass is slippery because it freezes from the top and the bottom, therefore it freezes first, and people lose control on the bridge. Take note of the infrastructure along the highway, bridges and overpasses. High and low elevations, roadways that lie in shadow, and any place where the road goes past a body of water, you could potentially find ice on the roadways. And where Marion and I live here in British Columbia, driving through the mountains, you can encounter these conditions in any stretch of the roadway. So you need to be paying attention to what's going on the roadway and watching other traffic and how other traffic is moving along the roadway, because if you watch other traffic, you can identify the ice and snow on the roadways and adjust your driving accordingly to keep yourself safe. Okay, where to find ice? Roads that run near water, no traffic on the roadways. So late at night or early in the morning, if you're on a roadway that doesn't have a lot of traffic, this is where you could potentially find ice. And this is what happened to me a few years ago when I spun out on the highway going up to Kamloops. It was late at night. It was probably 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night. There wasn't any other traffic on the roadway, and that's when the ice formed on the roadway because there's very little traffic. Think of it like running water in a river. Where the water is calm is where it's going to freeze. Where the water is running through a rapid, it's not going to freeze there. A roadway is the same. If there's a lot of traffic on the roadway, it's less likely that you're going to get ice forming on the road. But if there's very little traffic, and there hasn't been, that's when ice is going to be allowed to form, because the water is going to sit there and it's going to freeze and you're going to get ice, and it potentially could catch you out when you're driving on that bit of road. Maintenance crews clear main roads first. They're going to focus their attention putting down salt and sand on main roads, and then they're going to get off into the back roads later on. So if you're on the secondary and tertiary roads, this is the place where you're going to find them most slippery, because maintenance is going to happen later in the day after they get done with clearing the main roads first. Intersections are slippery, curves, corners, and turns. If you're going to get into trouble in the wintertime, oftentimes you're going to get caught out on curves, corners, and turns. You're going around a curve. You're negotiating a turn, as I was when I was going to McDonald's last week, and the car kept going straight even though I had turned the steering wheel, but it was slippery, and even with winter tires on the buggy, it could not get traction. Fortunately, I got stopped before I ended up in the ditch. I just had to back up a little bit and carry on with my life, but it was like, oh, that's really slippery. Okay, intersections are going to be slippery, and as I said, main roads are going to be cleared first. Curves, corners, and turns. In the wintertime, braking and steering are two separate actions. You need to slow down first, brake, and then you need to steer through the curve. Okay, you need to power through the curve. And when I say power, I don't mean accelerate. I mean you just want power to the wheels. In other words, you want enough of the engine RPMs so that you're moving and pushing the vehicle forward, so that the tires are turning and they're gripping the roadway as you're moving forward, not spinning. Spinning wheels, a locked or spinning wheel is always going to lead. So if you're on compromised traction and the tires are spinning, or they're locked, in other words, you've got the brakes on too hard, this is when you're going to lose control of your vehicle. So you want to slow down before the curve, corner, or turn, and you want to power through the curve, corner, or turn. You want to be pushing the vehicle through. Most vehicles in this day and age are going to be front-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, or four-wheel drive. So you need those tires to be getting traction, and the way that they're getting traction is that the wheels are turning and there's under power. They're not just spinning loosey-goosey out on the roadways. Oversteering is when you turn the wheels and the back end of the car comes around, and this you watch that video on black ice and I'm spinning out. That's what happened to the buggy. Oversteering. I turned the steering wheel, went around the curve, corner, and turn. Back end kind of lifted up a little bit and started coming around, and I lost control of the vehicle. Oftentimes, oversteering is a product of driving too fast for conditions. This is what happens when you're going too fast. Understeering, this is what happens going into McDonald's. I turned the steering wheel and the vehicle continued to go straight. Fortunately, as I said, I got it stopped before I ended up in the ditch. But braking and steering, you have to get the vehicle slowed down first and then turn the steering wheel. And this is what's going to happen on compromised traction. And again, it can occur because you're doing steering and braking at the same time in combination with going too fast for conditions. And what is the speed that you should be driving in the wintertime? Other traffic on the roadway, as a general rule, and I quote that, as a general rule, as a general rule, the speed that other traffic is traveling in the wintertime under compromised conditions is the speed that you should be driving in the wintertime to keep yourself safe. And if you're not comfortable keeping up with traffic flow, then go a little bit slower. And drive within your own skills and abilities to keep yourself safe in the wintertime. Skid recovery, steer in the direction you want the vehicle to go. I know that there are smart drivers who are going to come back to me and say, no, you need to steer in the direction of the skid. Which way is this direction of the skid? I've been doing this a long time and I'm still trying to figure it out. Sometimes you're just going to lose control and you're not going to be able to recover from the skid, especially if you're going too fast. Some of the things that you can try to regain control of the vehicle: get out of the main tracks on the roadway, try and move to the outside of your lane and regain traction, and don't give up. Too many people lose control of their vehicle and like, oh yeah, whatever, I'm all done, and they just let go of the steering wheel and they give up. Don't do that, okay? Continue to work the steering wheel, continue to figure out where you want the vehicle to go. Try and reduce your speed as much as possible. As soon as you let off the throttle and the vehicle is not going straight down the road anyway, it is going to slow down pretty quickly just from letting off the throttle and the vehicle not being under power anymore. Plus the wheels are going sideways, and that's going to create a braking force. So you're going to slow down pretty quickly when you lose control of the vehicles. Interstate backups, there have been a few, there haven't been any of late, and the last time I mentioned this, of course, Calgary took this as a personal challenge, not Calgary, rather, the province of Alberta took this as a personal challenge and had like a 50-car pileup. Most of the time in these pileups, there are not fatalities, and I'm not putting this out there as a challenge either, that somebody on a highway initiate a pileup and have fatalities. Most of the time there are not fatalities because the vehicles are getting slowed down and they're just crashing into each other and becoming a big mangled pile of metal. But if it happens, oftentimes it's going to happen. There's going to be ice on the roadways. You can see in this image, and you look at other images of freeway, highway pileups, there's moisture in the air. There's fog of some sort. The moisture causes ice on the roadway. So take note of the temperature, take note of moisture and precipitation in the air. That could be a clue that there is ice on the roadways. If you come upon where there is a backup on the highway, it was the same thing when we were coming back from Calgary and it was backed up on the highway at the Lake Louise exit, you need to stay back. Okay, and if you are the last car in the lineup of traffic that's on the highway, activate your four-way flashers, activate your hazard lights to warn traffic behind you that you are stopped on the highway, on the roadway. Okay, and stay back from the traffic in front of you if it is moving until other traffic gets behind you, because you could potentially be rear-ended out there on the highway, and you don't want that to happen. The space in front of your vehicle, the space behind your vehicle is going to keep you safe and put in place that safety so that you don't get rear-ended on the highway. Okay, stay off the brakes. And the other thing about these situations where traffic slows down, moving your vehicle, keeping your vehicle moved is a technique, a skill that is going to prevent you being rear-ended by other traffic. But have that situational awareness of other traffic coming up behind you and keeping yourself safe on the roadways. Okay, if a crash is imminent in the wintertime on snow and ice, okay, reduce your speed as much as possible. That means just taking your foot off the throttle. Try and stay off the brakes, okay? Aim for something soft. If you can glance off another vehicle instead of hitting it head on, that is going to be preferable than trying to hit something head on, okay? A fence versus a tree, okay? If you can aim for the ditch and just drive into the ditch, that's going to be minimal damage. If you drive into a tree, it's probably not going to be minimal damage, and I can guarantee you that in most instances in this day and age, you're going to write off your vehicle. So aim for something soft, aim for something that you can just have a tow truck come and pull you out of the ditch. And if you do end up in the ditch, don't try and dig it in, don't try and get the vehicle out. It's not likely that you're going to get the vehicle out without being towed out of the ditch. So know that $150, $200 tow truck charge is going to be preferable to doing excessive damage to your vehicle and spinning out and trying to get out of the ditch and those types of things. Oftentimes it's not going to happen. You're going to have to call a tow truck to help you get out of the ditch. Proactive winter driving. Take note of what the temperature is outside. That is going to keep you safe in the wintertime, because know that it is going to be more slippery when the temperature is around freezing as opposed to sub-zero temperatures. In addition to that, make sure that you have windshield washer fluid in your vehicle, good windshield wipers on your vehicle, and good quality tires on your vehicle. It doesn't necessarily have to be winter tires, but do have the three-peak mountain snowflake symbol on them. You can have M&S as well, but some smart drivers have come back to me and said that the tires with just the M&S isn't as high quality as the three-peak mountain snowflake symbol on your vehicle. Take note of the temperature outside, maintain your space, turn on your lights so that you activate your tail lights as well, so other traffic can see you and other traffic can help you out on snowy, wintry conditions in the wintertime. Stay with the traffic flow. If it is snowing and it is icy and treacherous conditions, just stay with traffic flow, because for the most part, traffic flow is going to be going at a safe speed. If you're not comfortable with the speed that the traffic flow is going, then slow down, go a bit slower. Do not activate your hazard lights if it's snowing in the wintertime or conditions are poor. Everybody else on the roadway knows that the weather is bad and your hazard lights are simply distracting the drivers behind you. So just turn your headlights to the on position from the auto position to activate your taillights and to allow other drivers to be able to see you on the roadway. And remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Paul, you can celebrate with me this April passing the road test 1 year, which was the 24th of April. Congratulations. You're going to pass. I know you're going to do it, Paul. You've done a lot of work, so it's going to be great. 7X driving test can be and is nerve-wracking. You're drenched in cold sweat. Your heart is racing, and it's so hard for you when you're doing your test. And I think 7X for a lot of people when doing their driver's test that overcoming nerves and anxiety is one of the biggest challenges for a lot of people doing their driver's test. And if you can overcome your nerves and anxiety, that is going to help you to pass your driver's test and be successful, because you got to be, somewhat calm and sometimes, not freaking out. Oh my God, I'm going to die and I'm going to mess this up because the driving examiner is going to give me an instruction and I'm not going to be able to follow the instruction, or I'm going to muck it up. So one of the techniques that I suggest for new drivers, to overcome that anxiety and fear that they feel when they're taking their driver's test is when you're learning how to drive, try and get in the vehicle with as many different people as you can. You know, your aunt or your uncle is over and they're visiting, you know, it's like, hey, can we go out for a 10-minute drive? And they'll take you out for a drive and you'll get used to somebody else in the vehicle that you normally wouldn't drive a vehicle with, right? And that way you can overcome your fear and anxiety and those types of things. Excuse me. Paul, that was not only in 2025, but the best Christmas gift ever. Awesome. So yes, lots going on. I was going to say one other thing. Right. I had somebody look at the Audi. Young guy looked at the Audi, and then he got the insurance quote on how much it was going to cost him to insure the Audi. And I know for a fact that he had been quoted with collision insurance on the Audi. And the insurance was $450 a month, which is over $5,000 a year for insurance for the Audi. For those of you who are buying new cars, you just got your driver's license, or you are on your probationary license, one of the ways that you can reduce the cost of insurance is to buy an older vehicle that's not a sports car, and pay for the vehicle outright. I'm pretty sure he was going to pay for the vehicle outright. However, the cost of insurance was exorbitant because it's a sports car, and this gentleman was on his probationary license. So what I suggest to you is to buy like a Honda Civic, a Toyota Corolla, a RAV4, CRV, an older vehicle that may be 10, 15 years old. These are all good quality vehicles. And then just have PL and PD on your vehicle for insurance purposes. In other words, PL and PD is public liability property damage. So somebody is injured in a car crash and it's deemed your fault. Public liability will pay for that. Property damage, you careen off the road and drive into a house, that's property damage. Fire theft insurance is not too expensive on a vehicle, but what is the most expensive kind of insurance that you can buy is collision insurance. Collision insurance is if you drive into a telephone pole, then the insurance will fix your vehicle for you even though it was your fault and you drove into a hydro pole. That is collision insurance. If you are buying collision insurance, know that it is going to cost you twice as much money to put collision insurance on your vehicle. So for new drivers, it may not be practical for you to put collision insurance on your vehicle. The buggy, for example, I do not have collision insurance on the buggy. It's just not worth it for me to have collision insurance on the buggy. So for those of you who are new drivers looking to insure a vehicle, collision insurance, if you can do without it, it's going to save you a lot of money over the long run. Marion, you wanting to sell the Audi? Yes, we're still trying to sell the Audi, Marion. So it's for sale. It's 2014 Audi S4, V6 supercharger, lowered suspension, modified exhaust, European tune. It's a nice car. It's a nice car. And if I had the money, I would buy it. But I'm just afraid that I would get... I wouldn't be able to control myself with driving that car because it goes really, really fast. All right. Yes. Excellent. So we're talking about wintertime, keeping yourself safe in the wintertime, preparing your vehicle, good winter tires. Not winter tires. I'm not advocating winter tires, but I am advocating quality tires on your vehicle. Three-peak mountain snowflake symbol on the tires for your vehicle. Keeping it in good nick, having windshield washer fluid, in the reservoir, having good windshield washer or windshield wiper blades on the vehicle so that you can see one of the passenger side wiper blade on the buggy is going, and it's really annoying when you got all these streaks on the windshield and those types of things. When you fill up with fuel, you may have to go into the fuel station if you're running on mountain roads or highways where there's lots of gook and salt and all that yuck in the wintertime. Make sure that you clean your lights when you go into the fuel station. Clean the glass on your vehicle so that other drivers and whatnot can see you. And if you do get into compromised light conditions or bad weather, snow and ice and those types of things, make sure that you turn your headlights to the on position so that other drivers can see you, because your taillights are now activated and other drivers can help you. Because keep in mind, driving is a social activity, and other drivers may help you out if you make a mistake and they know that you are there on the roadway. Corey, it's quite a difference. Older car costs for insurance. Yes, it is. It's a huge difference. And he was $450 a month. I know that if he had taken collision off the vehicle, off the Audi, it would have been $200 a month as to $450 a month. Maybe not 200, but about $225, because collision doubles your insurance premium on your car. 86, if you're a new driver, I recommend getting a part-time job not too far away, like 10 to 20 minutes away. That way you can get your reps in while earning cash on the side. Yes, as well. So all the driving experience that you can get in while you're young, as 86 said, and get a part-time job and you're driving there, that is definitely going to help you out and with your driving experience. One of the other things that happened, and this is one of the things that I talk about with new drivers: drinking, driving, dating, and distractions. These are the 4 Ds that new drivers are dealing with when they're learning how to drive. And drinking. I didn't drink very much one night with my friends, and I got sick from drinking, which has not happened in 10, 15 years, like a long time that I've been sick from drinking. But it was because I was under stress. I was, just a lot of anxiety, and it happens sometimes. And this is one of the experiences that we have as young people that we're learning how to do. We're learning how to deal with drinking if you do choose to drink. I know a lot of young people don't drink now. Driving, you're learning how to drive and get experience in driving. Dating, experiences with the opposite sex or your partner or whoever it might be. And then distractions as well, because now we have cell phones. Everybody's got a cell phone. We're all distracted with all the apps and other information that's going on. So there, for young people coming up between the ages of 16 and 20, there is a lot of stuff that you're learning. There is a lot of stuff that you're dealing with, and there is a lot of stuff that is all brand new. And I mean, don't get me wrong, it's super exciting. Super exciting. But when you start to combine those things, you start to combine drinking and driving, which I'm hoping that you don't, because there's enough, grassroots messages out there that we're not doing that, but it does happen, unfortunately. The thing about drinking, and I'll tell you about experience of drinking, most of the time for me, when I'm drinking, I know within one mouthful that I should not have any more alcohol. So this is what drinking, the experience of drinking, can teach you. But if you don't know that, you're already 1 or 2 beyond how many you should have stopped 1 or 2 ago, and then you're sick, and because of drinking too much alcohol. So these are the things that new drivers are dealing with in their lives, and some of the activities in life that they're coming to grips with: drinking, driving, dating, distractions, your phone. We're all coming to grips with distractions. Yes, 86, the joys of taxes. Absolutely, yes. This is the other thing that you're coming to grips with in terms of getting jobs and those taxes, which you pay. The government takes taxes on your paycheck, which is about 30%, depending on what income bracket you're in, and then you pay taxes on everything that you buy. There's taxes, and it depends on which province you live in, which state you live in, as according to the taxes that you buy. And I mean, for example, here in British Columbia, the taxes in British Columbia are out of control. My friend, when we went to Montreal, I bought him a bottle of bourbon because couldn't get bourbon in Quebec. And the bottle of bourbon here in British Columbia, I bought 1 bottle of bourbon and it was $125. I went to Alberta and I bought him another fancy bottle of bourbon in Alberta, and the same bottle, I looked at in the bottle shop when I was there, the same bottle of bourbon was $80. So why is there a $25, $45 difference in booze between two provinces? And I'm sure it's the same in different states in the U.S. The cost of taxes on alcohol purchases is the same thing. And it was the other night I went down and bought a bottle of wine for my friend, and the bottle of wine here in British Columbia was $26. And she was saying to me that in Alberta, it's almost half the cost of what it is here. So talking about taxes, there you go. It depends on where you live in the world on how much you're going to pay for taxes. Marion, thanks to TransLink, we have extra taxes in the Lower Mainland. Okay, so Marion, I haven't heard about this. How are you having to pay extra taxes for TransLink? TransLink is the public transit authority in the Lower Mainland, is it not? Am I correct? So why are you paying extra taxes for public transit? That doesn't make any sense to me. But, most of the stuff that the British Columbia government doesn't make any sense to me in terms of taxes. The cost of living here is exorbitant. Absolutely exorbitant. But anyway, we're not talking about winter driving. We need to get back to winter driving and talking about winter driving and helping people out, keeping them safe on the roadways. If it is snowing in the wintertime, here may be one piece of information that may make you reduce some of the anxiety and fear that you have around driving in the wintertime. There are less crashes in the wintertime than there are in the summertime. The 100 deadliest days for driving in the wintertime are driving during the year are June, July, August, and early September. Those are the 100 deadliest days for driving. However, the information just does not get out there, and all the organizations that put out information about safe driving all convince people that driving in the wintertime, you will die. And I cannot convince people otherwise. Okay? People are convinced that they're going to drive in the wintertime and they are going to die. Yes, it is treacherous. However, it is actually safer to drive in the wintertime because everybody else that's driving in the wintertime is paying attention. And most people that are on the roadways in the wintertime, when not only are they paying attention, but they have their vehicle serviced. They have good tires on their vehicle, and they have winter washer fluid and wiper blades, and they've got their headlights on and those types of things. They're maintaining good distance. They're putting in place all the defensive driving skills and strategies that are going to prevent them being involved in a crash in the wintertime. In the summertime, not so much. Not so much. They're speeding, driving too fast for conditions of the roadway. They're following too close. There's all kinds of vulnerable road users out in the summertime, which are not out in the wintertime. And there are more crashes and more fatalities in the summertime than there are in the wintertime. So perhaps that bit of information that you will be with other people who are actually paying attention and implementing good driving skills in the wintertime may reduce some of your anxiety and fear around driving in the wintertime. Now, driving in the wintertime at night is going to add another layer of complexity to driving. As one smart driver said years ago, driving at night is like driving on a different planet. And it is, especially if it's snowing in the wintertime. You have to look for landmarks to navigate and figure out where the roadway is, in addition to all the other skills that you need to put in place to keep yourself safe in the wintertime and driving at night. First and foremost, follow other traffic. Other traffic is going to drive on the roadway. At least we hope so for 98% of the time. Looking for traffic signs, utility poles, intersections, any landmark that is going to help you to identify where the roadway is at night. And just an example of this, as I said, driving through the mountains in the wintertime, it can be challenging because there is snow everywhere and it's deep and there's hard pack on the roadways. So trying to figure out where the roadway is can be challenging in the mountains. Passing a semi-truck on the highway at night in the dark and come up and all of a sudden there's a concrete barrier and I'm obviously in the middle of the road and there isn't enough room for me to squeeze between the semi-truck and the concrete barrier, and so I bailed and went on the other side of the concrete barrier into oncoming traffic. Now, fortunately, there wasn't any oncoming traffic on the Trans-Canada Highway between here and Calgary, and got up about 100 feet and went, I think I'm on the wrong side of the road. And put it in reverse, backed up, and then carried on again. But, you know, I wasn't going to hold the line because there wasn't enough room between the concrete barrier and the semi-truck. So you need to have situational awareness about where you are on the roadway and where other traffic is in relation to your vehicle to keep yourself safe in the wintertime, and looking for the road signs and all the other landmarks that are going to help you to identify where the other road, where the roadway is going, and where you are in relation to other traffic. So that situational awareness is going to keep you safe when driving in the wintertime, in combination with managing space in front, lots of space in front, knowing when to pass, knowing that if you're going to get into trouble on slippery conditions in the wintertime, it's going to be on curves, corners, and turns, and that you need to slow down and you need to be powering through. You need to have power to the wheels, not spinning, not accelerating, just power to the wheels when you're moving along the roadway and the highway. Know that in the wintertime, it's going to be more slippery, more treacherous when temperatures are around freezing, as opposed to sub-zero temperatures, because there's a layer of water on top of the ice. Intersections are going to be the most slippery. So what you want to do is you want to slow down back from where you actually want to get stopped, and then you want to creep up to where you want to get stopped. And as I was talking about my little incident in Golden, where I came up to turn into the McDonald's and I hit the brakes and the car continued to go straight even though I was trying to turn the steering wheel. Fortunately, I wasn't going very fast at the time, probably less than 10 miles an hour, 15 kilometers an hour, and you know, the vehicle got stopped. I backed up and then went around the corner. So it does happen in the wintertime, but for the most part, everybody is aware of what's going on. They know they're driving in the wintertime, and very few people drive crazy. As a rule, the people who are going to be driving crazy in the wintertime are going to be driving pickup trucks. Usually pickup trucks with snowmobiles in the box, which I find just kind of interesting. Epic, my friend, Happy New Year to you as well, my friend. One more thing, when driving in these types of conditions, make sure you have a snow brush with an ice scraper on the one side, additionally a battery-operated pump starter. Yes, ice scraper. Make sure that you fit your vehicle with an ice scraper in the wintertime, so that you can clear the glass and the lights on your vehicle for visibility, and so that other drivers and traffic can see you and keep you safe when you're driving. Now, on the other note, Corey will put up the video for cold starts in the wintertime. Going to Montreal, I left the buggy in the parking lot at the Calgary airport for a week, and it was minus 25 for 5 days in a row, and the buggy sat outside, and we came back and, you know, did the technique for starting up in cold weather, turned the key to the on position, waited a couple of, 30, 40 seconds for the electricity to kind of move through the system and those types of things. The buggy fired right up. So you can do those cold weather starts. Now, Calgary gets super cold in the wintertime, and in the parking lot at the Calgary airport, they have plug-ins. So most cars in Alberta all have block heaters. It's a heater that just warms up the oil pan and the block of the engine and allows you to start the vehicle up, and it's a lot easier on the engine and those types of things. So most vehicles in Alberta, North Dakotas, both of the, not just North Dakota, but North Dakota and South Dakota, Minnesota, places like that, vehicles will come equipped with block heaters. Most newer pickup trucks, I think, as well, are automatically fitted with block heaters. They're inexpensive. I don't know if anybody, maybe a smart driver here or a smart driver watching on the replay, has had their vehicle retrofitted with a block heater. Maybe you can just let us know how much that is to do that. But of course, most people now in these day and ages all have remote starters. If you're living in any kind of cold climate and those types of things, most people are going to have remote starters on their vehicles. But the old buggy fired right up after sitting for a week in minus 25 degree weather. Marion, did you remember to take a piece of cardboard so that you could slip it into the front of the buggy to make the starting easier? Marion, I didn't take any cardboard. There were just so many things going on that I did not take the cardboard. But I knew that, I could find cardboard if I needed it. So, yes. 2.5, be dressed for the weather outside in case stuff goes sideways and know where your heavy outerwear is located. See too many people driving around dressed for the beach in the wintertime. And yes, exactly that last point that 25 just made. If you are driving out on the highways in the wintertime away from cities and whatnot, take good quality clothing, winter clothing. We had all our snow equipment with us, so we had our boots and snow pants and toques and mitts and scarves and those types of things. In addition to that, I have a survival kit in the buggy that just stays in there all year round. It's got a shovel, traction mats, booster cables, those types of things. And just on that note of survival kits, when I did park the buggy at the airport before leaving it for the week, I did back it in. That way, if it needed to be boosted, I could just go and find somebody to give me a boost, and didn't have to get around into the front of the vehicle. So just making it easier. So that's another technique that you can do when parking your vehicle in cold weather in the wintertime. We'll leave it there for tonight. Good luck with your driving in the wintertime. Defensive driving skills, space in front. Good quality tires, wipers, winter washer fluid in the reservoir. Maintain your space, looking for landmarks along the roadway, and adjusting your speed accordingly, and maintaining space in front of your vehicle, braking early, and anticipating what's going on with traffic. The good news about driving in the wintertime, there are less fatal crashes than the summertime. Stay safe, and remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Have a great night. Bye now.